Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to dig into stacks of sources and pull out the key insights for you, making sense of complex topics. And today, we're diving into corporate social responsibility, CSR. Think about this for a second. What if companies, with all their incredible power to make money, actually use that power on purpose, not just for profit, but to tackle huge global issues, poverty, climate change, environmental damage? I mean, what would it actually look like if making money and, saving the world were basically the same job?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the sweet spot CSR is really aiming for. It's where economic growth and development can actually live side by side with looking after society and the environment, finding that balance.
Right. So our mission here is to really unpack CSR for you. Look at the real benefits beyond just looking good and explore some fascinating real-world examples that make this whole idea tangible. To really get a handle on this sweet spot you mentioned, maybe we should start with the basics. Like, what is corporate social responsibility, fundamentally?
Okay, so at its heart, CSR is about a company's commitment, a continuous one. It's about upholding ethical standards, contributing to economic development, and improving the quality of life. And that's not just for the company itself, but for its employees, their families, the local community, and really society overall. The key thing, I think, is that CSR isn't an add-on. It integrates business operations with social values. It means weaving the interests of all stakeholders into how the company actually works, into its policies and actions. It's part of the design.
That word stakeholders feels really important there. It's a big shift, isn't it, away from just thinking about shareholders. It means the company's responsible to, everyone it impacts. Customers, employees, suppliers.
Exactly. The community, the environment, society as a whole. It's a much, much broader view. And, this idea didn't just pop up recently. Its roots go back quite a way to some deep thinking that happened after all that rapid industrial growth in the 20th century, especially in developed countries, where mature economies kind of gave people the space to reflect more on the connections between companies, the planet, and communities.
Yeah.
To really understand CSR systematically, there's a helpful model. It's Carroll's Pyramid of Corporate Social Responsibility from back in 1991. Imagine a company's like a building. This pyramid is kind of the blueprint. It's got 4 levels, and they build on each other logically. And what's really insightful about this pyramid is it highlights a common mistake. Companies sometimes try to jump straight to the top to philanthropy.
Without the foundations.
Precisely. Without having the ethical and legal stuff solidly in place first. Real sustainable CSR has to be built from the ground up.
Okay, so let's start at the bottom then, the foundation. Economic responsibility. This seems pretty straightforward. A company has to make money first, right? Survive, offer product people need, create jobs, pay taxes. Like Carroll said, if the company doesn't survive economically, talking about other responsibilities is kind of pointless. You look at Starbucks, say $36.4 billion revenue in 2023. That's huge economic clout. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think, how some companies are now weaving sustainability into that economic base. Like Taiwan's President Shane Store Corporation 7-Eleven over there. They launched this Tian Suri Shu vegetarian and vegan section. And it wasn't just, ticking a box. They actually saw sales growth. It proves sustainable products can open up new markets, drive profits. So it connects economic responsibility directly with those sustainability goals.
Right. Then moving up, the second layer is legal responsibility. So while you're making profits, you absolutely have to follow the rules. All the laws, all the regulations. Society expects this. It's the baseline, the non-negotiable minimum for operating. Things like labor laws, environmental laws, food safety rules. You have to comply. But what's fascinating is seeing companies go beyond just compliance. Take Nike. They actually require their suppliers to use 100% recycled water. That's often way stricter than the local laws. It shows that legal responsibility shouldn't be seen as the ceiling, but maybe a higher floor, a starting point for companies that are really serious.
That's a great way to put it, a higher starting point. But it does raise tricky questions, doesn't it? Like we hear about issues, say, worker wage disputes in Apple's supply chain. These situations can kind of expose gaps, maybe loopholes in existing laws. It really highlights how companies need to think proactively, ethically, even when the law doesn't explicitly force them to. Which brings us nice to the third layer, ethical responsibility. This is where it goes beyond just what's legal. It's about doing the right thing. It's tied closely to, society's morals and values. It asks companies to be fair, to be just, to really think about the impact of their decisions on people on the planet, even if there's no specific law telling them to. It's like the company's conscience. Patagonia is such a clear example here, right? Their founder, Yvon Chouinard, saying Earth is now our only shareholder. That's a powerful statement. And their commitment, donating 1% of sales to environmental groups year after year. That's ethical responsibility in action, way beyond any legal requirement.
Exactly. And then right at the top, the fourth level, is philanthropic responsibility. This is about purely voluntary actions, giving back. Things like donations, encouraging employee volunteering, supporting community projects. It's not legally required. It's not even strictly an ethical obligation in the same way, but it's about that spirit of, giving back to society what you've taken from it. A really neat example is TCC's Dukkha Market in Taiwan. The profits from the vendors there go directly back to the local Hepping Elementary School. It's more than just charity. They're trying to build what they call an ecosystem of circulating goodwill, really embedding it. And Peter Drucker, the management guru, he had a great quote on this. He said, "The best philanthropy is to make doing good a business model." It encourages companies to weave that giving back right into their core business, not just have it as a separate thing.
So that pyramid structure really clarifies the different dimensions. But it also highlights, I think, a potential tension. You mentioned it earlier, especially between the economic need and these other responsibilities. How do companies realistically navigate that? It must be tough sometimes.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's a constant balancing act. There aren't always easy answers. But Harvard professor Rebecca Henderson offers a useful way to think about it when companies hit those really complex ethical spots. She suggests mapping out all the stakeholders involved, almost like charting a constellation. The idea is to try and find the greatest common ground, the shared interests among those different groups. It gives you a framework for weighing things up and making decisions.
Okay, so we've got the framework, but let's tackle that skeptical question head on. Why should companies really bother? Is it all just, greenwashing, just good PR?
Yeah.
Or are there solid, tangible benefits? Does it actually help the business?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And the answer is definitely yes. There are very real benefits. It's far more than PR. First off, think about trust. When companies genuinely act ethically and meet their responsibilities, they win trust. Trust from customers, from their own employees, from the community. And that trust creates this positive feedback loop. People want to buy from, work for, and support companies they believe in. That often translates directly into better profits. Second, CSR is a really vital risk management tool. Hugely important, especially for big, complex companies maybe operating internationally. They're just more exposed to potential crises hitting their reputation. So doing well on CSR, protecting workers' rights, minimizing pollution, ensuring product safety, it actively reduces those operational risks. It can help avoid massive damage from scandals. We're seeing this very practically now in supply chains. It's quite stark. Foreign clients are increasingly telling their Taiwanese suppliers, "You must have strong CSR practices or we won't place orders." It's becoming a basic requirement to even compete.
Wow, so it's moving from nice to have to must have.
Absolutely. Third point, operational efficiency and innovation. Promoting CSR often pushes companies to be more efficient and creative. For example, encouraging employees to participate more in how things are run can boost productivity, reduce time off sick. And think about environmentally friendly production methods. Things like lean production, focused on cutting waste that fits perfectly with sustainability, makes you more efficient by default. And innovation. Look at Adidas making sneakers from ocean plastic. Or IKEA designing affordable, sustainable furniture. These aren't just side projects. They're turning sustainability challenges into new products, new business models. That's real innovation.
That makes sense. Efficiency and innovation coming directly from trying to be more responsible.
Exactly. And fourth, and this is huge today, attracting and keeping talent. In this really competitive job market, good CSR is a major draw. Young people especially, they increasingly want to work for companies that have clear values, companies that care about social and environmental issues. We're even seeing this sort of awakening among employees. Remember when Microsoft workers protested that cloud contract over human rights concerns?
Right, yeah.
That shows how much the newer generation values corporate ethics. It affects where they work, if they stay, their level of commitment. It's a big deal for talent.
Okay, those are compelling reasons. So the theory holds up. Let's see it in action. How does this actually look on the ground? Maybe some specific examples. Let's start small. Is CSR just for the big guys, the multinationals? What about Yuzi Zwan Japanese cuisine in Taiwan? This place really challenges that idea, doesn't it? Almost 60% of their staff come from disadvantaged backgrounds. People struggling economically, ex-offenders, single mothers, different ethnic groups.
It's incredible. And it's not just about hiring them, it's deeply embedded. They invest 30% huge chunk of their net profit back into the community. They provide meals for those in need long term. They even hire social workers just to support their own employees. Environmentally, too, they're doing their bit, pushing for paperless, using eco-friendly cleaning stuff, advocating for green building materials. And the founder, Mr. Licorice, he literally started the restaurant to create these jobs. That was the core mission from day one. The fact they got the highest score for an Asia-Pacific B Corp, that just proves it. Small and medium businesses can absolutely do CSR powerfully. They can use their flexibility, their close ties to the community. It shows CSR can start right there, caring for your own people and your neighborhood.
That's a fantastic story. Okay, let's shift gears completely. We usually talk about companies succeeding, operating long term, but what about when things go wrong? What if companies facing huge problems, maybe even has to shut down? Does CSR still matter then? Could a company actually close its doors responsibly?
That's a really tough but important area. Let's look at the TransAsia Airways case from 2016. They announced they were dissolving, basically shutting down very suddenly. This was after years of losses. Now, the chairman did say they'd set up a trust fund to handle severance for employees, refunds for passengers, pay off partners. They framed it as fulfilling their responsibilities. But the suddenness, the lack of warning, it raises profound questions. Can a company just disappear overnight like that responsibly? What does responsible action even look like when a business fails? How do owners face failure? How do they admit it, deal with it, and crucially, try to minimize the harm to everyone affected? Employees, customers, shareholders, suppliers, everyone. It makes you scrutinize the ethics of it all. The financial side, yes, but also the communication.
Right.
Was that sudden announcement ethical?
Yeah, it's a sobering example. It really hammers home that CSR isn't just for the good times, the profitable years. It's maybe even more critical during the tough times, right up to the very end, isn't it? It's about how you handle adversity responsibly. Okay, let's look at another angle. An entire industry. Fashion. It looks glamorous, obviously, but its environmental impact is, well, it's huge.
Yeah.
Massive water use, carbon emissions, pesticides for cotton, and then all that waste, tons of clothes ending up in landfill, pumping out methane.
It's a classic example of the traditional economic model, that straight line, make, dispose.
Yeah.
You take resources, you make something, and then you throw it away, that linear thinking. The big shift needed, the future for CSR and sustainability, is towards a circular economy. The idea is to mimic nature, where there's no real waste. Resources just keep cycling around. Waste from one thing becomes food for another. And what's really interesting now is seeing the fashion industry trying to make this move. It's a huge challenge, but they're trying. Look at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Circular Fibers Initiative. They launched it with big names, H&M, Nike, others. The goal is a whole new system. One where old clothes get taken apart and reused, where you can even pull nutrients out of textile wastewater. It's ambitious.
And we talked about Adidas earlier, right? Working with Taiwanese companies to make those sneakers from ocean plastic. That's a concrete piece of that circular idea in action.
Exactly. Now, it's not easy. There are big challenges. This kind of shift needs everyone in the industry working together, massive innovation, building completely new systems for collection and reprocessing. But the direction is clear. In the future, fashion brands won't just compete on how fast their fashion is or how stylish. They'll increasingly compete on who is genuinely more sustainable, more circular, more environmentally sound. And this shift isn't just happening in fashion. CSR is becoming, well, an unstoppable global trend. Taiwanese companies are definitely getting on board, increasingly adopting these practices. Like we said, it's often not even a choice anymore. Those foreign clients are demanding it to even get orders. And issuing a social responsibility report, that's become a standard thing now. It's like a corporate report card showing integrity, building trust with investors.
Right, and it seems like governments are stepping up too. You mentioned the Taiwanese government promoting rating systems designed for local companies, and things like the Global Views Monthly Awards running since 2005, recognizing companies doing good work that helps push the whole agenda forward, doesn't it?
It does. And when we talk about measuring CSR performance now, the focus is really sharpening. There's a big move towards looking at three key areas: Environment E, Social S, and Corporate Governance. Yeah. You hear the term ESG ratings all the time now. Investment firms are paying much more attention to how companies perform on these non-financial factors. They see it as linked to long-term value and risk.
Some are even talking about using a social footprint, trying to quantify companies' actual impact on social issues.
So what this all really points to is a fundamental change in how we even define success for a company. It's not just about the profit, that traditional top line. It's moving towards what people call the triple bottom line, judging performance across economic, environmental, and ED social dimensions all together. Which means CSR and ESG, they're not separate things anymore, are they? They're becoming tightly linked, really forming the core of what makes a company competitive today.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from, where CSR came from and what it means, through Carroll's pyramid with its different levels, and into some really vivid examples: that small restaurant, the airline closure, the fashion industry trying to go circular. It feels like CSR has really shifted, hasn't it? From being maybe a side project or something extra to being woven right into the fabric of how sustainable businesses need to operate. It's clearly not just about image. It's fundamental to managing risk, sparking innovation, getting the best people.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, CSR and ESG are only going to become more integrated. They really are the core elements of competitiveness and, frankly, societal legitimacy for companies going forward.
So here's something for you, our listener, to maybe chew on. Picture this. It's 2030. You're in an interview for that job you really want, and the interviewer asks you, so tell me about the world-changing projects you've been part of. What do you hope you'll be able to say then? As you move forward in your career, whether you join a big company or start your own thing, how are you going to define success? Beyond the bottom line, what role will CSR play in your own plans?
Maybe we can leave you with a thought from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." Companies, at the end of the day, aren't just abstract entities. They're made of people. They carry our collective values and intentions. And it's worth remembering, corporate social responsibility, it isn't just a cost on the balance sheet. It's actually more like a prescription for the survival and hopefully the flourishing of our shared human civilization.